So here we are, book 19 of my l- favorite series in the whole wide world. Eve Dallas, Visions and Death. I got it. Hey, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina K-R-S-T-I-N-A. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, none of that fancy smitch going on here. So, book 19. We have a couple of stressful incidents that happen in here, a couple of lighthearted incidents in here. Eve Dallas is a lieutenant in the New York City Police and Security Department. Her partner in the job is Peabody, Detective Peabody. Her partner in real life, or whatever, is Rourke, the billionaire. The major domo is Somerset. Her best friend is Mavis. Mavis is married to Leonardo. Oh, not yet, but that's her significant other. We have Nadine. What is that? We have Nadine, our reporter. Mira, the department shrink. Whitney, her boss. Feeney, his captain of EDD, who is also her former mentor. McNabb is Peabody's significant other, and he works for Feeney and EDD. We really don't see too many of the extras. We don't see Baxter, Trueheart, and the rest of the gang too much in this. And we get a small visit from Crack, the guy that owns the Down and Dirty, that Eve likes to frequent, where she had her bachelor's party. So, in these particular ones, I did a whole bunch of videos in 2024. If you want to go, please watch those for some plot and some book review stuff. But I didn't read them in 2025 because I'd already read them in 2024, and I'm not going to read a book and not do a video on it. But then I decided, since these are my comfort books, I'm just going to read all the characterization. We're not going to talk plot. We're just talking characterizations here. All the character spoils as the characters progress from book to book to book. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the characters. So, Eve grew up in the foster care program. She had a horrible childhood. And she's slowly learning how to deal with stuff in social situations. She hates social situations. So apparently Rock dragged her to a party. And she had to suffer in heels and a dress, a glittery dress. She had to suffer. Suffer, she did. She had to suffer. Suffer. Let's see. She just knew she was wearing something green with sparkles all over it, and where it wasn't green and sparkly, it showed a lot of skin. There hadn't been time to argue about it, but only to dive into the outfit and shove her feet into shoes, also green and sparkly. With high enough needle-thin heels, she'd nearly eye to eye with her man. It wasn't a hardship to be eye to eye with Rock, not when he was that wild, unearthly blue in a face drawn by artistic angels, but it was tough being social with strangers when you were worried you might tip over and fall on your ass any second. But she'd gotten through it, through the quick change, the quick shuttle trip from New York to Chicago, through the cocktail hour with her brains were nearly bored to sweet, despite truly excellent wine. She wasn't quite sure what kind of clients they were of Rourke's, but since his fingers had in every pie known to man or beast, she didn't attempt to keep up. What she did know was that most of them could take the price for most tedious 4-hour deal. So, she gets called to a murder scene, and they have to deal with the murder scene, and she's got to deal with the fact that she's in the dress and the whole 9 yards in the murder scene. And then, she's with Peabody, and they're headed out. They're finished with the murder scene. Eve headed back to the car. She could go home, change. Home was closer than Central. It would save her the indignity of walking through Central in her current attire, a point that couldn't be overvalued. The black and white can take us to my place. We can put together what we've got, catch a couple hours of sleep, and start fresh in the morning, she says. I hear that. I also hear the unspoken, you don't want to go to Central in your party dress. Shut up, Peabody. You gotta love it. Um, so the next morning, Eve came out wearing a short white terry robe. I'm just going to grab something at Central when. She sniffed the air, spotted the plate of French toast. That was low. Yes, he patted the seat beside him, then moved the cat when Galahad took him up on the invitation. No, you sit down, Eve. You can spare 15 minutes for some breakfast. Maybe I should fill you in on a couple things. Two birds, time efficiency. She took a bite, nudged the cat back as he tried to belly towards her plate, then reached for the fresh cup of coffee Rock poured. And then they talk about the case. And then he dresses her for the morning because Eve has a hard time with her wardrobe. And let's see now. Then we go to. I'm trying to see what this is. All right. So Rock has built Duckus. It's a shelter for abused women and anybody that wants to get away and needs a safe place to stay. You tracked down Louise? She's at the shelter today. Oh, Eve had been hoping for the Canal Street Clinic. She'd yet to make a personal appearance at the women's shelter Rourke had founded. We'll take the victim's residence first. If we're clear enough time, we'll go by talk to Louise. I've been wanting to see Duckus for myself, Peabody commented. Charles says Louise is really juiced about it. You talk to Charles? Sure, now and then. As Charles, a professional and licensed companion, was Louise's guy and had been Peabody's guy minus sexual fun, it just struck Eve as weird. Charles and Peabody just had a friendship. They were never actually a dating thing. They were just friends. And Louise is a medical doctor, and her and Charles are doing just great. Louise does not mind Charles's profession. He's a licensed companion, a very high, very well-paid streetwalker, but they don't. Not the street part of it. He meets people in restaurants, and he gets paid $5, $10, $15, $20,000 for his time. And Louise doesn't have any problem with it at this juncture. So then they talk about the case. Okay, let's see what this says now. Why did I want to do this? Oh, so she's talking to Peabody. One part of the investigation, they're going into craft stores. There's a lot of satisfaction in making something yourself, picking the colors, the materials, the patterns, individualizing it, seeing it come to life. You say so. A lot of craftsmen and artisans in my family goes with the whole free agent philosophy. I'm pretty handy myself, but I don't have a lot of time for it. I still have the tea cozy my grandmother helped me crochet when I was 10. I don't even know what that is. What, the tea cozy or crocheting? Either, and I find I have no interest in finding out. Alright. So they go to Duckus, and Eve has a little bit of a situation. She remembers her childhood trauma that happened when she goes into Duckus. She has a flashback of her childhood trauma. We won't really get into that part of it, but that's a good chunk. It's a chunk of piece of information that will lead down the road to New York to Dallas. We haven't gotten there yet, but the storyline started in Naked in Death, and we get little itty bitty pieces of it through the whole series till we end up with Naked in Death, and that's the culmination, the crescendo book of all of Eve's past. Duckus, Gala for Hope, was as safe, probably safer due to its anonymity, as the White House. If she'd known such places existed, she would have fled to one instead of wandering the streets of Dallas, a child broken, traumatized, and lost. No fear, no, fear would have sent her running away from hope. Even now, knowing better, she felt uneasy stepping up to the door. Alleys were easier, she thought, because you knew there were rats in the dark. You expected them. Before she reached up to ring the doorbell, the door opened and Dr. Louise D'Amato greeted her. So, they go in, they get a tour of the place. They meet that lady. Um, uh, what's her name? Moya. Moya that gave Rourke all the information on his family. They meet her. And then they get the um dinner invitation. Let's see if I got it. Let me see if I can find it. Mr. Bypage. She opened the door, gestured them inside, not to mention leading me to Charles. Briskly, she said, which reminds me, we're setting up that dinner party I keep trying to pull off. Night after tomorrow, Charles's place. It's cozier than mine, 8 o'clock. Suit you and McNabb, Peabody? Sure, sounds like fun. I've already cleared it with Rourke, she says as she looks at Eve. Um, she'd have preferred ice cold water and an open window so she could lean out and just breathe. We're in the middle of investigation. Understood. Doctors and cops learn to be flexible and live with canceled social engagements. Barring emergencies, we'll expect you now. Sit down, drink your protein flavored thing, and all right. So then they talk about the place, and there's some revelations about some other stuff. Um, You must be really proud, Peabody said as they got back into the car, huh? Place like that? She looked towards Dallas. What's Rourke's done that? Yeah, he puts his money where a lot of people can't even bother to put their mouths. As Eve started to pull out, Peabody laid a hand on her. What? We're partners now, right? As you never fail to remind me. We're friends. Dubious, Eve tapped her fingers on the wheel. Is this going to get sloppy? People have private stuff they're entitled, but friends and partners are entitled to unload on friends and partners. You don't want to go in there. It shouldn't show, Eve thought. It wasn't allowed to show. I went in there because your aces are doing things you don't want to do. Things people would walk away from. So, Eve will eventually confess to Peabody about her childhood. But it will take some time to tell Peabody what really happened. Then, Eve goes home. She left the car at the front steps and realizing she neglected to call requisitions and bitch, she gave the door an irritated boot when she got out. She forgot her car is malfunctioning. Her cars will always malfunction. They're fun until I shouldn't reveal it right now, but promises. He was lurking. Somerset was the universal champion of lurk. He stood in the foyer, bony and black, his snooty nose in the air, and the fat cat at his feet. In Eve's opinion, Rourke's major domo never missed the chance to give her the needle. You're earlier than expected and appear to have gotten through the day without destroying any article of clothing. I must note this event down on my calendar. Bitch when I'm late, bitch when I'm early. You could go pro on the bitching circuit. Your current offensive mode of transportation has not been properly garaged. Your current offensive face hasn't been beaten to a pulp by my fist either. Mark that on your calendar, creep show. Now, as much as her and Somerset itch and bitch at each other, it's their enjoyment. They get enjoyment out of it. They both enjoy doing the snarking, the bickering. It's fun bickering for them. Other people may get hurt by it, but Eve and Somerset, it's just their relationship. When it matters, they're serious with each other. Um, he had a couple more in his pocket, but decided to save them since they were circles of exhaustion under her eyes, and she was already heading up the steps, hopefully to bed. He glanced down at the cat. That should do for the moment. He waved the figure toward the stairs, and Galahad trotted up. And then she has a dream. So we'll get past that. Um, so then she gets to bed, takes a nap, and she has a nightmare, and Rock comes in and he wakes her up, and she says she's gonna get dinner. And because of the traumatic experience that went on, um he assumes that Eve is gonna get pizza. He left her contemplating the auto chef and opened the panel to wine rack. He assumed she needed to keep busy and keep the nightmare at bay. Thinking pizza, he selected a bottle of Chianti and opened it and set it aside to breathe. You'll be working tonight. Yeah, I have to do some stuff. I've got Mira's profile and I want to walk through it again. Um, she brought 2 plates over to the sitting area, set them down on the table. What you've got there? Food. What does it look like? It's not pizza. My culinary program skills run beyond pizza. She'd chosen chicken sauteed in wine and rosemary with a wild rice and asparagus. Fancy that. I've opened the entirely wrong one. We'll live with it. Let's eat. No, this won't do. He opened the wine rack again, found a bottle of Polar Frisé in the chilled section. He opened it and brought it to the table. Hey, I'm good with a glass of Coke. That's all I need, my soda. I don't need alcoholic beverages. I had some kids the other day. They were making fun of me. Um, they asked me what my favorite beverage was. My favorite beverage is milk. Milk, orange juice, Coke. Those are my 3 beverages. So they've discussed the case. Then later on in the next day, she sees Feeney. She lost the power of speech when she saw him. The reliable Feeney, with his fading vacation tan, his weary ginger hair threaded with gray. His face was comfortable, creased and droopy, but instead of one of the rumpled shirts he habitually wore, he was decked out in a stiff and spotless one, the color of raspberry sherbet. And he had on a tie. A tie. The closest she could come to describing the color was what you might get if you electrocuted grass. Jesus, Feeney, what are you wearing? Then the look he sent her was that of a man bearing up under hideous emotional weight. My wife said I needed to start wearing color. Bought this getup, then hung over me. Nagged my ears off until I put it on. Tell me, look at these pants. He shot a leg out so Eve was treated to the sight of skinny limb wrapped in modified skin pants in the same electric shade as the tie. God, I'm sorry. Boys out there think I look iced. What you're going to do, I don't know. Tell me you've got a case of me, something that's going to take me out in the field where I can get bloody. He lifted his fist, a boxer's pose. Wife can't bitch if these glad rags turned ruin on the job. I've got a case, but no field work. She felt bad for him. Poor Feeney. Alright, let's see. Then we're gonna hang out with Peabody. What did I want Peabody? So they're talking about the case and uh that she wants to talk to one of the people involved in the case. Yes, sir. Do you want me to speak with Miss Sanchez again until you're done, sir? No, this is your call, detective. Your opinion on this matter? Peabody's spine snapped straight. Mine, sir? I might be more open to extrasensory gifts, Commander. We have sensitives in my family. Would you be one of them? No, sir. I just have the basic 5. I just like that. I just like Peabody. All right, now let's skip ahead a little bit. Um, they're going to do some interviews, right? Eve eased toward the curb, and the rat trap she was currently stuck with driving vibrated like gelatin in the wake of the speeding wagon. I want you to call requisitions the minute we get back to Central. Beg, bribe, threaten, offer sexual favors of any nature, but get us a decent ride by the end of shift. Peabody had her teeth clenched and did her best to speak through them. Who's going to perform the sexual favors should it come to that? You, detective. I outrank you. Hell, the sacrifices I make for the badge. You gotta love it. Oh, so this is good. As much as Eve has uh difficulties with vehicles, Eve also has difficulties with her office computer. So she's working on her office computer, and uh she goes to log in, and you've had this experience yourself. Not this exact one, but similar ones. When your password doesn't work and you've typed the right one in, but maybe one of the letters was capitalized, one of them was small, maybe the number, and you don't remember. Your authorization code and password are not recognized. Essex and I. What the hell are you talking about? Eve gave the machine a quick boot with the heel of her hand. Dallas, Lieutenant Eve. She read off her badge number, her authorization, and repeated her password. The computer gave a cheerful little burp, then a long grinding buzz. The screen flickered. Acknowledge. Operation shutting down. No, no, you son of a bee whore. You know that's not what I meant. After a series of mechanical hiccups, that's better. Open case file, blah, blah, blah. Acknowledge, blah, blah, blah. Uh, and then, and then it switches over. What flashed on screen wasn't a case file. It wasn't police business under the various naked couples withering in athletic and impressive positions were a bunch of vice cops undercover in an orgy. Welcome to Faye Center, your virtual garden of sexual pleasure. You must be 21 to enter. Mother of God, close and delete current area. Incomplete command. Like hell, close this file. Acknowledge. The comforting figures disappeared. Now you listen to me. This is Dallas Lieutenant Eve. I own you. Open case file. And, she grabs McNabb, and McNabb tries to fix her computer. And, it's sabotage, isn't it? You're expecting sabotage? That's why it's sabotage. There's a point. I need to look some. Why don't you take a break maybe? You want me to leave my own office? Lieutenant, he wants it to get out of there because he's trying to work on it. She's leaning over his shoulder. So then what page is it? Good news, bad news. How about the bad first? He gave her a come with me head signal and went back to office. Bad news is you've got a dink system here. It was working fine before. Yeah, well see, it's got some internal problems. That's the easiest way to explain it. Some of its guts, well you say, were designed, planned, obsolescence in mind. Only so many operating hours before they start to fail. Why would anybody build something that's programmed to fail? So they can sell new ones. Right? Um, I want to give Nadine an interview because of the 75 connection, not just. I'm thinking it might great big strong man to see 3 women dissing him on camera. To know women are heading the investigation. There's a thought. Um Why don't we set the interview up later today? At Central, yeah. Central Park, at least. Eve all but leaped out of the doors when they hit the garage. Dallas, wait! Peabody grabbed her arm, dug in her heels. I have something to tell you. Make it snappy. I want to say first that in just a few moments you're going to be overcome with a powerful urge to kiss me on the lips. I don't think less of you for it. Peabody, why? Even in your wild, perverted dreams I want no part of, by the way, would I ever have the least compunction to kiss you on your lips? Close your eyes. Eve spoke quietly, almost casually. Have you lost your freaking mind? Okay, Peabody pouted. You're no fun. She crossed over to Eve's parking slot, spread her arms with a flourish, and said, Relax! What's that? That, Lieutenant, is your replacement vehicle. Pucker up. Eve goggled. It was a rare thing to see the lieutenant goggle, and Peabody celebrated the moment with a snappy little tap dance. Slowly, Eve walked around the sleek navy blue sedan. It shone under the hard garage lights like a dignified jewel. The tires were big, black, and clean. The glass and chrome sparkled. This is not my vehicle. It is too. This is my vehicle. Aha! Peabody bobbed her head like a puppet on a happy string. Get out! How'd you pull this off? A little fast talk, some slight exaggeration, a lot of prevarication, and a little assistance from an fairy who knows how to hack. You got it through unethical and possibly illegal methods? Damn straight! Eve set her hands on her hips, looked Peabody square in the eyes. This is such a proud moment for me, a proud, proud moment. Are you going to kiss me on the lips? Not that proud. How about a peek on the cheek? Get in the car. Your codes, Lieutenant. She handed them over, strolled around to the passenger side. And you know what, Dallas? This bitch is loaded. Let's see what she can do. Alright, let's see what's going on here. I just enjoy the heck out of these books. Oh, Nadine! So they do an interview with Nadine in the park. And Nadine is always camera ready. Always camera ready. Eve glanced over and watched Nadine and her camera operator crossing to them. Why would she wear those skinny heels when she knew she'd be hiking over grass? Because they're jazzed and make her legs look mag. Eve supposed everything about Nadine looked mag, from her sweep of her streaky blonde hair to the toes of her jazz shoes. She had a foxy, angular face, observant green eyes, and a slim body that curved appropriately in her on-camera suit of power red. She was smart, she was sneaky, she was cynical, and for reasons Eve imagined neither of them fully understood, they were friends. And they do the interview. So, what Eve fails, this is later in the day, what Eve fails to realize, because they've got sensors at her place, they've got, security at Rock's place, right? So she gets to go home, and remember, she's got a new vehicle. And it doesn't hit her that she's got a new vehicle. And the gates don't open when she gets to the gates. And she's cursing Somerset out. She lowered the window, barked into the intercom. Open the damn gates, you rat-faced pointy ass. One moment, please. Your voice print is being identified. I'll give you my voice print. I'll give you my voice print all over your... She broke off again, hissing as the gate slid open. Think he's got a new trick up his sleeve to bust my chops? Thinks he's going to keep me stewing outside the gates now while he runs his little game? If he had balls, I'd kick them into his stone. And she gets into the house and she's all ready for a fight, and then he hits her. If you wish for automated entry, Lieutenant, Somerset said before she could spew, you'll need to inform us when you intend to arrive in a strange vehicle. One not yet scanned and cleared for security. Otherwise, as you know, you're required to announce yourself to the system, read and verify your voice identification or code access. Shit, he had her there. It's not a strange vehicle. It's my vehicle. He gave her his sour smile. Come up in the world, have we? Just blow me. Annoyed at the missed opportunity to pound on him, she started up the stairs. You have guests. Rourke is entertaining Mavis and Leonardo on the West Terrace first level. I'm about to serve canapes. I don't even know what canapes are. Goody. But since the half candy bar was now a far fond memory, she could admit privately that anything involving food sounded fine to her. So she goes around. The two men watched her walk with a bemused and affectionate smile, and Leonardo with open adoration. Rourke shifted his gaze, winked at Eve. Rather than interrupt, Eve crossed over to where a wine bottle and glasses were set up. She poured herself a drink, then crossed the patio to the arms of Rourke. Dallas! Mavis threw her arms out and somehow didn't spill a single fizzy drop. Did you just get here? Just. I didn't know if we'd get to see you, but I wanted to come by so I could give Somerset a smoochie. Please, you're going to make me sick. Mavis laughed. Then Rourke came in right behind her, so we're having a little hang. We're getting snacks. Her eyes green to go with the shimmer dance. So we're here. How's it going? Couldn't be better. He beamed at Mavis, a giant of a man with coppery gold. That's Leonardo she's talking about. And she brings, Somerset brings out food, and, they have, uh, uh, social discussion. And then another one, it's usually, Peabody having this conversation with Eve, but because it's Peabody, it's Mavis having the conversation with Eve. Like Leonardo and I were talking a couple days ago about how Peabody and McNabb are moving into the building soon, and we're going to be neighbors. At least we'll get a bigger place, and I just flooded. So what do you think they want for like a housewarming? Don't they have regulation temp control? Geez, Dallas, with a giggle, Mavis popped something else into her mouth. Housewarming. You know, where people move into a new place and you get them a gift? Hold on. You have to give them a gift for moving? Uh-huh. Plus they're shacking, so it should be a couple thing. She ate another canapé, fed one to Leonardo. Why does there have to be a gift for every damn thing? Eve said. Retail conspiracy, Rourke patted her knee. I bet it is. I just bet it is. Anyway, we really came by and we're all pumped, but that you're here because we wanted to talk to you about the baby. So this is gonna kill Eve, and I don't mean that way. They and when it happens, it's hysterical. I forget what book. It might be Promises or the book before Promise or Kindred and Death. One of those two books. Maybe it's Kindred and Death. I forget. It's one of the future books. Mavis and Leonardo are going to have Eve and Rourke be godparents. And not only are they going to be godparents, but they want them in the birthing room. And Eve is like, no, no, no. And Mavis and Leonardo talk them into it. It's just hysterical. We want you to be my backup coach. You're talking baseball. Eve bit into the salmon thing with the stuff and decided it wasn't half bad. Shouldn't you wait until you get the kid out of there? No, labor and delivery coach. You'd back up Leonardo when I have the baby. Eve choked on the canapé and turned white. Take a drink, darling, Rourke said with a laugh in his voice. Put your head between your knees if you feel dizzy. Shut up. Are you talking about, like, being there? In the actual place at the actual time in the room? You can't coach me, though, if you're in Queens, Dallas. You gotta have a backup coach, somebody who takes the classes, learns about the breathing and the positions and the stuff. Daddy bears first string, but you have to have one on the bench. Can I just stay on the bench outside? I need you there. And she talks, she gets the tears and works on Eve. And then Mavis says Rourke needs to be there too. And Rourke is like, me? There? Eve turned her head and saw with pleasure the rare sight of utter panic on his face. Not so damn funny now, is it, Ace? We're permitted, even encouraged, to have family present, Leonardo explained. You're our family. Um, so then, uh, just a second. Smoke. I'm getting the look. That didn't come out too good. I'm getting the look. My house is a disaster. Otherwise, I'd show her in person. Miss Smokey. Alright. Um, why did I want to read this? Oh, so she's with Feeny, and he says to her, because she's had a lack of sleep, and he said, "You're looking pretty peaky there, Dallas." Peaky? Jeez. She cut transmission, she zipped files, lists, even her work notes to Feeny. Despite the peaky remarks, she thought he had a cop's brain. Maybe outside of the e-work, he'd see something she missed. And she goes out to the bullpen. Peabody with me. What does peaky mean? Peabody wrinkled her brow. I don't know. A little look-see, peekaboo? No. As applies to someone's appearance, they look peaky. Beats me, but it doesn't sound good. Want to try me to look it up? No. That was just cute. Then we get a visit from Crack. I'll let you read that. That's a little touching moment between Crack and Eve. He's thanking Eve for the tree that they planted a couple of books ago when his baby sister got murdered. There's a press conference, and Eve makes Peabody take some of it. And they have a conversation with Tibble and Whitney. I think we'll just skip that part. Then, alright, so we're gonna go to the dinner party. We're gonna go. Charles and Louise and Peabody and Rourke are going, and Charles, Louise, Peabody, McNabb, Eve, and Rourke. We're gonna sit down to dinner. But there's we'll just pick it up. Let's see, where was it? Next page. Eve dashed in the house, slammed the door at her back. I'm late. But here's the thing, I'm not always late, but you're always ugly. Who's got the real problem? Since she finished the question at the top of the stairs and kept going, she wasn't annoyed with any reply he might have made. She stripped off her jacket as she hit the bedroom door, released her whip and harness, and tossed it on the sofa, yanked off the boots by hopping one-footed towards the bathroom, had her shirt off when she heard the water running. Damn, you'd beaten her home. And so then we have a little love session. We're going to dinner. We're going to sit around someone else's house and make stupid conversation and eat food we don't even get to pick for ourselves and pretend not to wonder exactly where in the apartment McNabb and Charles punched each other. Um, like I said, Charles and Peabody were friends. They had never had any relationship at all. But Peabody never told McNabb. And McNabb was jealous, and he was fighting for his girl. And Peabody just thought that was so romantic that he was fighting for her. So then they have a cute little tete-a-tete. Then we get to Peabody. They weren't late, Peabody thought, and when you had two currently overworked, sleep-deprived cops, being on time wasn't even the realm. Besides, she wanted to take as much time as she could to squeeze out to make sure she looked her best, since McNabb had given her a big, oh baby, figured she'd pulled it off. He looked pretty adorable himself. His hair was all shiny and slick, and his cute little butt, but is nice and smug against the seat of the black pants, saved from being too conservative by the fluorescent silver stripe running down each leg. She had her hostess gift, a clutch of fairly fresh tiger lilies she'd snagged from a vendor near her subway stop, and they'd been cleared through the lobby to the elevator. Now you're going to play nice, right? Of course I'm going to play nice. He fiddled with his collar of his silver shirt and wondered if he should have added a tie. Give Monroe a run for his sophisticated money. Why wouldn't I? Then you were sleeping with him and I was drunk and pissed off. Now you're not, neither am I, drunk and pissed off. She ordered Charles's floor, fluffed at her hair, and wished she had time to curl it, just for a change. Neither was I. What did you have to be drunk and pissed off about? He asked. Sleeping with him. You sure my ass doesn't look fat in these pants? What? My ass. She craned her head around to see for herself. It feels like it looks fat. What do you mean you weren't sleeping with him? After Louise? You mean after Louise? I mean ever. There ought to be a mirror here so I could check my fat ass. Your ass isn't fat, and shut up. You were going around with him for months. She gave the flower she carried a little sniff. You slept with everything you go around with, pretty much. Now, just a damn minute. We're gonna be late. She stepped off the elevator. We're gonna be later. You're telling me you never boinked the LC ever? McNabb grabbed her arm, held her back. You let me think you were boinking him? No, you think I was. And made an ass of yourself, which is a pretty short walk, really. Why? Because we were friends and I was boinking you, moron. Because we broke up. Because instead of asking what was going on, you accused and ordered and took that short walk to Asheville. And you tell me now, a minute before we walk in his door? Yeah, that's cold, Peabody. Yeah, I wait for payback and I deliver. You were a jerk coming over here toasted and punching him. But I liked that part, which is why I was magnanimous enough to forgive you for the sleeping with the twins. I didn't. He tapped a finger on her nose. Gotcha. You didn't? I was going to, and I could have, but we were on the breakup shuttle. I didn't want the twins. You bragged about it. Hey, I've got a dick. Man's got a dick. I gotta have pride in it. You are a dick. Now I forgive you for thinking I was bouncing back and forth between you and Charles like some sex bunny. She, buddy. My little sex bunny. Oh, God. There goes my appetite. Dallas! Peabody sent a dreamy look over McNabb's shoulder. We're making up. Whoops. Still, he gave Peabody about a final squeak. You start on the transit disc, Eve. Let's try to make it through the door before you start grilling the detectives. Peabody, you look charming. And, of course, Charles has got to go. Lieutenant Sugar. That's what Charles calls Eve. And, We have several pages. I could sit here and read all the pages. I won't. You can enjoy the rest of their socializations for yourself. Um, but it's it's really good and I really enjoy it. Um, but McNabb is discussing the fact that him and Peabody had her own place and McNabb had his own place. And now they're moving into Eve's old place, and they're going to be a floor down from Mavis and Leonardo, where Mavis and Leonardo live now, and they're all going to be in the same building. And they're uh, almost finished packing their apartment up, and she sees McNabb and EDD. Hey, Lieutenant, where's your curvaceous partner? If you refer to Detective Peabody, she's working. Most of us do. Just wondering if you're figuring to split end of duty. We're hoping to finish up with pack it up mode tonight and start the haul it over mode tomorrow. He looked so damn happy she couldn't work up any sarcasm. Any minute she suspected the words would float visibly out of his mouth in the shape of little hearts. Was it something in the air? Peabody, McNabb, Charles and Louise, Mavis and Leonardo. It was like a smooch epidemic. So then Rourke sees her new vehicle. In his elegant dark business suit, Rourke circled Eve's new vehicle while it was parked in her slot at Central Garage. Haven't had a chance really to examine your upgrade, Lieutenant. Long overdue. It does the job. Better, one hopes, than your previous one. He tapped the hood. Release the hood latch. Why? So I can look at the engine. Why? It runs. What else is there to know? Looking at it doesn't change anything. Darling Eve, your absolute lack of interest and aptitude for mechanics is so female. Watch it, pal. Wouldn't you like to know what's under there? He tapped the hood again. What's getting you where you're going? No. Though he stirred some mild curiosity. Besides, I'm getting a little later start on this plan than I planned. Just move. And he wants to drive it. And then we get a little serious note towards the end of the book. Peabody ends up in serious trouble. And you'll have to read to find out what happens. But she gets attacked and she handles herself, but she ends up in the hospital. So that is the end of Visions and Death. And you'll have to read it to find out who there was one bad guy, but the bad guy had another bad guy on the hook. And be prepared for Nypsd Swisher. And oh, that little kid. We'll see that little. We met him in and the DeBlasses come back for a visit. So check it out. Visions and Death, Book 19. And we'll talk to you next week about Nypsd Swisher, Survivor and Death. Have a good one.